Here we go again with another inspirational conversation to help you with your journey towards improvements with inflammatory arthritis. Today's guest is Louise. She's from Warrnambool, which is a part of Victoria, which is the southern area of Australia. And this is our very first conversation. We have jumped on this Zoom call and we've had about a 5-minute chat. And I have not deliberately asked too many questions because I want to hear Louise's story myself for the very first time. And it's a story of recovery, and it's a story of hope and transformation. And she grew up on a dairy farm, she tells me. So herself and I both have that in common, given that I grew up on a farm as well. And it was common to not shop for the meat in the family, but to source it from the farm. And we are going to hear Louise's story now, and she tells me it's a good one. So thank you, Louise, for coming on the podcast.
Thank you, Clint, for having me. I'm excited.
Oh, yes. And I could tell from our email exchanges, you sent initially an email saying, I really want to come on the podcast. You've been wanting to do so for some time, and you feel like now's the time. And so tell us, what are we going to expect here? What's the trailer of our experience today?
Yeah, sure. So I was diagnosed with seronegative rheumatoid arthritis over a year ago, and I really want to give a great snapshot to my recovery and the journey with the Clint Paddison program and how I'm feeling now, and some tips and some inspiration on overcoming the disease.
Yeah, awesome. So how did it sort of begin for you? What were the first symptoms? What was your experience getting out of bed, and all of the negative things that were happening?
Yeah, I really had to, because it's been over a year now, I really had to sort of think back into that mindset of what it was like. So around March 2018, I was looking after my parents' farm. Around that time, they dry off the cows, so I was back just doing some farm duties, and I'd been out of action for a little while. I love my exercise. Fitness has always been a really big part of my life, especially running. So the November 2017, I lost my son Max. He was born at 32 weeks, and sadly 6 weeks later he passed away. So between November and March, I was just healing, and around March I thought, I'm going to get back into my exercise and my fitness, and I've always been into running, cycling and swimming. And I thought, my aim was to do a triathlon. So off I went, running around my parents' farm, and my left knee just felt really, really peculiar. I thought I'd done my meniscus. It just felt like a real grind after the run, and that or sticking. It was like a real sticky point in my knee around that meniscus area. And that went on for about 3 weeks. And I can vividly remember driving up to Melbourne, so a 3-hour car trip, and my left knee just blew. The fluid just filled up my left knee whilst travelling in the car on a 3-hour car trip. I thought, that's really that's unusual, but I knew my brothers, like in my family, we've got funny, dodgy, dicky knees, and my brothers had previous knee fluid retention in the knees, and they'd recovered. So I thought, this is perhaps very similar. So the journey began. I went to the chiropractor. I was getting dry needling. I went to the doctor. I got draining. They took the fluid. I remember getting steroid injections. What's that called? The cortisone injections. And this just went on and on for quite some time. So during that period of time, I wasn't able to run, wasn't able to fulfill my dream of, well, not my dream, my goal of doing that triathlon. And when I really wanted to, and I think, after losing a child, exercise for me then and my mental health was everything. So, look, sleeping at night was so painful, just rolling over, sort of jars from my partner, in the middle of the night. I remember, getting out of the car and sort of sliding out of the car because I couldn't bend my knee. It was just so swollen. Had a really sedentary job. At the time I was working as a graphic designer. So I would sit with a box under my desk elevated because the joint was just it would throb. And I just had no idea. I wasn't getting any answers. So as time went on, I'm really fortunate I live by the ocean. So during this period of time, I plunged and I swam in the ocean to get some respite from that pain and also to help with my mental health. So we're going through the depths of windy Warrnambool winter and I'm plunging in the ocean and limping around on the icy sand without an answer. And I think I was plunging a lot as well because I was so tired. I was really, 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 really fatigued. So
and how long was this going on for? So just to recap, you've had this absolutely absolute world-crushing, horrible experience of losing your son, okay? And then you've been through that emotional upheaval and developed joint pain. And this is common. You've had a hugely traumatic event leading to the physical symptoms showing up. And you've had this terrible swollen knee that you've been through the cortisone shots and so on. And it continues to swell. So what I want to know is how long, back in 2017, how long did this go on for? And then did other symptoms start in other parts of your body whilst you were, going through your emotional recovery and plunging in the cold water and so on?
Yeah, it did. So September, March to September. So how many months is that?
March to September, March, April, May, and June, July, August, 6.
Yeah, 6. So it took me 6 months to finally get a referral through. I went to see a sports therapist, a sports doctor.
Medicine doctor.
Yeah. I thought this guy's going to fix my knee. No one else is. So he gave me the referral to see rheumatoid arthritis specialist in Geelong, so a 2-hour trip. I tell you what, you're right. I can vividly remember being in the bathroom and looking down at my right knee, and I'd noticed this extra swelling, and I thought, oh my God, it's spreading. And I thought, what is happening? What is happening to me? And that's when I knew that it was more than what my brothers had experienced in the past. So off I went to Geelong with my mother-in-law, and we made a bit of a day of it, and in I went and met the rheumatoid arthritis specialist, and she did an amazing job at her job. She had the most incredible poker face, about delivering how serious of a disease this was, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she played down, I guess, the severity of my outlook and how that would look on me for the rest of my life, I guess. So, I just sort of she diagnosed me with seronegative rheumatoid arthritis. So that's when it mirrors large joints. So that's why it was going into the other knee. And at that time, it might have been a little bit later on, it did start filtering into my lower back as well. Yeah, yep. So I just sort of said, how does this happen? I didn't even I didn't even know what rheumatoid arthritis was. I knew what arthritis was, obviously the other type, but I didn't know about this. And I'd given her a bit of an outline of me. I remember her asking me, have you ever experienced eczema? And have you ever experienced gut health, gut health? And that was about it. Yeah. But so I gave her a bit of a timeline of what happened with me and the trauma and the loss. So she understood where I was at. So I sort of spoke about, okay, what's going to happen? She said, look, we're going to start you on sulfasalazine. Yep. And we'll get going with there. A normal lady like yourself, I said, can I run? Yep, you will lead a normal, healthy life. What about if I want to try and have children again? Yeah, that'll be a little bit of a different story. We'll mix up your medication and we want you to, we'll have you on a cocktail of things, basically, but it should be okay. And if it's not, come back and we will up the dosage. We will try different types of medications and, if worse comes to worse, we'll get you in for injections. Oh, my God, injections. Yeah, so that's when it all kicked off, September 2018. And I guess I was in a really vulnerable place. I was, I just wanted to be pain-free. The pain was just so, it was just so uncomfortable. So I guess I was vulnerable and naive. And in that period of time, the sports doctor had given me some meds. I can't remember the name of them, just to tie me over. What was that, sorry?
Prednisone or prednisolone?
Oh, yeah, I think so. And it was just, I was in fight and freeze response.
Yeah.
That was just incredible. The girls at work were sort of really quite concerned because my jaw would be clenched and it was like I had 20 cups of coffee.
Yeah, because there's steroids. Right?
Yeah. God. So, okay, so off I went. So what are we looking at? Yep, so I started taking the medication. She said, look, it will take quite some time to start coming into effect. And my energy levels were just so low. So I'm naturally a really active person. I love sport. I love my fitness. And naturally very optimistic and positive. But I was just flat, It was like my inner flame was out, I can remember being at a girls' trip in Noosa and just so tired. I was just so unbelievably tired. So time went on, would have been about December 2018, and we did a Zoom chat with the rheumatologist, and she said, how's it all going? You know what, it's not great. The swelling's gone down a little bit, but not a lot. It was as easy as buying Panadol off the shelf, She said, not a problem, I'll prescribe you more medication. So to help further on with the reduction. So, yep, I took that. So I was on 2 types now.
What was the other type? Do you recall?
Oh, I can't recall that. I'm sorry. Yeah, I can't recall the name of it. So I was now on 2. So my sister sent me she said, obviously my sister knew my situation and my past, and she'd seen a documentary on Netflix called Heal. So it was a very similar sort of story or documentary about a football player and how he had a vulnerable injury, and it was just very similar to my story, but it didn't give me the answer. It didn't give me the answer. It was more about the mind and healing through the mind. I thought, okay, yeah, there has to be more out there than this. So that's when I really started my investigation. I thought, yep, there's more out there. But I remember being on the internet and just looking, and I couldn't find you. I couldn't find anything about healing through food until my naturopath was at work in sort of around January 2019, and had a little quiet word to her, just over the counter. And she said, come in and see me. So that's when the ball sort of started to get rolling. And she said to me, yep, I can help you with this, and I can get you off the meds, but it will take some time. So I thought,
that's a very bold naturopath. She's got a lot of confidence.
Yeah. So a huge shout out to Sharon Holland in Warrnambool. She had my back, but she was the first person that said to me that she had helped treat someone like me. So she had me sort of on a range of things and had got the ball rolling, not quite as strict as the Clint Paddison program, but I had started in that whole food space. So, and I guess in that period of time, I did a lot of research myself. I did a lot of reading about the disease. And I vividly remember this one line in a book, or whether it was online, that just shocked me and shook me to the core. And I guess doing that research and reading that bit of information made me so determined. So anyone out there and that's what I want to advocate for today to people listening, is to really do research and understand the disease and the severity of it. So the line that got me was they described it as rheumatoid arthritis as burning down the house, slowly burning down the house. And just, sometimes it just rung with me, and I thought, oh, my God, if I don't get on top of this, my body, my organs are just going to perish. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't know whether or not it's the phrase that I use, which is that having the disease is like having a house on fire and you don't let it burn. You immediately bring in every single fire truck that you know, and you put it out as quick as can. You don't just sit back and let it burn.
Yeah, absolutely. So in the midst, I was with the naturopath. We'd sort of got the ball rolling. And I happened to be at Go Vita, and Go Vita is a natural health food store in Warrnambool. Huge shout out to the girls there. They do an amazing job. And Helen Harris, I was just chatting to Helen Harris, a worker there, and I told her about what's been going on. And actually, she'd lost a child as well. She lost a little baby as well, and I think that's where we built that sort of connection. And I told her about my rheumatoid arthritis, and she said, oh, you must, she wrote, I've still got the little piece of paper. She said, you must look up Clint Paddison when you get home. I went to a forum or a one of your conference, yeah. And I did. I got home and I looked you up, and I was like, yes, this is gold. So I quickly bought, I bought your program. I downloaded the app. I sent and I've got them still here now. I've got your program printed off, and I got it spiral bound and laminated. And at that time, I started studying, and I was so excited to go to the printer. because I knew it was ready, that I'd left class early. I think I left at about 10. It was like a full day. I just really wanted to get my hands on it and read it. So I did. I left TAFE and I went and got your book. And that's when the magic happened. That's when it all started. I got straight onto the cleanse. And I think it was great where I was at, and what I was doing with my naturopath, but your program just catapulted my healing, and instantly. So I started the cleanse, I started juicing. I think, the cleanse really, really catapulted my recovery, my healing, and my energy just went through the roof. I felt alive, like I almost feel like I was just existing. And I guess I was just sort of dragging my body around. So it was just so amazing. And it was easy for me to stop drinking alcohol, love a good drink, love a party, to stop drinking coffee, to say no to, and I did it for 4 months. I did your program for 4 months with ease, actually. I did it with ease. I went to parties and I'd go to hens parties, and it really didn't bother me. That's where it all started, Clint, and it's changed my life. And I think that your program's not only healed me, but it's made me, and it's funny, isn't it? Like, you go through these challenges in your life, but it's given me the key to understand how your body can function at a really high frequency and vibrancy through a plant-based diet. Yeah,
absolutely. Wow.
And it's educated me to understand that. And I look back at my life, and now, it's I feel so good inside and out because I know how to eat, and I know what makes me feel good. Yeah.
Isn't it crazy that, if you were to study animals in the wild, a chimpanzee knows what to eat. It doesn't have to look it up on the internet. A tiger knows what to eat. Every other animal other than human beings just know inherently what to eat, and they don't question it, and they seek it, even if it's challenging to get food. If a lion only eats every 4 days, and to get food, it has to take an entire day and a pack of them to be able to expel all the energy they have to just get one catch or one kill to feed the family of lions, and then lie down for another 4 days. They don't ever question, is there a better way of doing this? Should I be eating something else? No, it's just how it is. But with humans, it's like we just don't seem to have ever worked out, or at least have understood until probably the last several decades, and especially in the last decade, how the body responds best to food and what tends to prolong life. And a plant-based diet does that according to the science. And so we've had the studies now, and we've seen this, and we've had enough research done on enough people to know that, look, the body likes fiber. It likes to thrive. It thrives on plant-based foods. And so you've got the keys to life. When you know what to eat and you do it, that's like one of the biggest keys to life that we should be educating our children from when they're born. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so, it's everything, really. Like, when you think you eat, it's your fuel. It's a key to a happy life. Yeah.
So, some things come to mind. First of all, you mentioned the word catapult. I love the word catapult, and catapulting. Yeah. So that implies to me that changes happen quickly. So did you experience fast changes?
Yep. 100%. Yep. It was a little while ago when I did it, but yeah, absolutely. So, and I was working with my naturopath to gradually come off those meds as well. I didn't want to do it too quickly, But I noticed within, the first couple of weeks, reduced inflammation, especially in my left knee, which was the most sort of vulnerable knee. So absolutely, within that first couple of weeks and in that month, I was killing it. Yeah. Yeah,
Awesome.
I really was. And my naturopath, she was sort of walking with me as well. She's like, oh, Louie, I expected, this to take a lot longer. But, she expected it to take a lot longer, but I'd done it in such a short amount of time. And I was gentle as well. Like I didn't push myself to exercise, I took it really gently. And that's, one piece of advice. I couldn't do everything in your program. I couldn't do the Bikram yoga, although I would have loved to. We didn't have that facility here in Warrnambool. But instead I went to the beach and I think that's one piece of advice that I'd love to give to your listeners is just manipulate, things that you can't quite do in your program and tailor it to you, to where you are at. Yeah. So I for 4 months, I can't quite remember what sort of time frame it was when I come off all the meds, but I wrote my I went on a European holiday in the August, and I thought, here we go. I thought this is really going to test me to see whether or not, because I couldn't control the way I ate in that 4-month period. Yes. So the beauty was, and I will say, it does require a lot of energy and time and preparation. I'd never had so many pots and pans, and juicing equipment before. So while I was studying, it was awesome. I had my set times and I'd set my meals, and all my peers were just so intrigued with what I was doing, like, what are you eating? But, yeah, I couldn't control that. I did, and I remember in the first week of the holidays I sort of, I got some basics and things like that, but I did allow myself to indulge. I drank alcohol and I drank coffee, and I tried some things that I hadn't in the last 4 months. And I was waiting for it, I was waiting for the inflammation just to flare, and it didn't. And it didn't flare. And I was so happy because in the back of my mind I thought, this is really interesting to see. So I wrote my rheumatoid arthritis doctor, specialist, a letter, and I guess it was a very cathartic experience to do that. And I never got a response, which is fine. But it baffles me, Clint. Like,
what did you write in the letter?
I wrote in the letter my findings of how I got to be in her office. So I understood the core root through my investigation and through your help and my naturopath. I understood that leaky gut. So I've always had sort of a bit of a dodgy gut. Going through the trauma and the loss of my son Max, and what impact that would have had on my whole being, and my knee injury, so that predisposed knee injury, I understood it. I was like, right, I get it. Yeah. So I just said, dear doctor, I no longer require your assistance. I understand the core root of the problem, and I'm just baffled that I'm just baffled that I don't know. The words.
I think what you're wanting to say, the sentiment that you're wanting to convey is that it would be nice that the people who you go to see as basically the pinnacle of your treatment, understood that diet plays an incredible role in the outcome of the patient, and that anything that affects the gut microbiome affects the outcome of the patient. They are very much aware that pre-existing conditions in joints tend to attract more inflammation and tend to be sources of high disease activity. In fact, my rheumatologist told me that, I think, in our very first visit. So we know the medical community very much aware of that. And what we would really like is that they are aware of the science, the published medical literature that shows how much diet plays a role in rheumatoid arthritis. And something like our program just takes it to an extreme, where it's a compilation of the science put together into one source, where you can address the microbiome from every angle, from exercise, diet, supplements, and so forth. So, well, it's interesting also to me that you came off the meds with your naturopath. So did you actually not go back and see the rheumatologist again?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
And do you know what? And I've never had a follow-up. I've never had a call. I've never had a call back from that practice to see if I was okay. Like, imagine,
Right. Interesting. Yeah, yes. Right. So
that must mean they did get the email.
Okay, so that chapter's closed for the moment. So what about the knee? How's the knee today? And can you just clarify for me, because right at the start of our conversation, and I'm not sure if I'm the only one who got this wrong, but it sounded like you said you were diagnosed a year ago, but the symptoms started 2017. So just give us the timeline in terms of can I attempt it and you correct me? So somewhere throughout 2017, the knee began to swell. You had swelling for 6 months that wasn't controlled by steroid injections. Then you noticed the other knee started to swell. You started sulfasalazine, and then later, when that was failing, you added another drug which you don't recall the name of. And then you saw the naturopath, and then you started the Paddison program. And about 4 months after doing those interventions, you were able to come off the medications.
Yep.
How long ago since you took your last med?
That would be, let's have a little look here.
Roughly a year?
No, it would have been about, say, April or May last year.
Oh, right. So a year and a bit. And how is the knee or knees now?
So I achieved my goal, and it was.
You did the triathlon?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
It was pretty. Look, and so the Warrnambool Triathlon Club held little mini triathlons in November last year, and a friend of mine just said, you should give the little mini triathlons a crack, So I did, and I got myself a bike, natural sort of swimmer and runner, and I competed in the 3 mini triathlons, and then I ran in the Olympic size. I competed in the Olympic size triathlon here. When was that? That was summer. Might have been January. January this year. And it was amazing. I thought, that was a really big milestone for me to achieve, actually. So I did eventually get there. I'm pain-free. My knees are great. I can run. I can swim. I can ride. I achieved that goal. So not a lot of people know my story. A few people do, and I think inside me, when I was competing, I was lit up inside. I was so happy that I was able to what I'd overcome. I think what I've overcome in the last couple of years is massive. And I think to heal yourself through food, through a plant-based diet is, it's incredible. And I think that's the main reason why I wanted to come and do this interview with you today, to reach people, because I know what it's like to be all alone and have no understanding. So it doesn't, and I'm sure this stems to a lot of other diseases out there, that there is, I really want to promote and advocate your program, I guess. Yeah.
You should reach out to Plant-Based News, which are a large reach organisation based out of the UK but have a very large worldwide reach. They'd love your story. Reach out to Plant-Based News. I'll grab a contact for you and they'll run your story, because it's really, really cool. One thing I love about it is it's quite complete, so you've got quite a complete recovery, and it's also really focused on the food side of things. And so it makes for a great story, a real feel-good story for a really, really wide audience. So I recommend you do that. The other thing that I like about it is that it's, your attitude's so good, and that's not to say that all other guests have not. It's just that, you're saying to me, I want to promote this message, and I feel that I can assist you with that and say, okay, well, we're doing this, but if you want to take that further, let's take it further. Reach out to Plant-Based News. I mean, then you're hitting a really, really big audience. And so I'll see what I can do to assist with that.
Oh, that'd be amazing. Yeah, to help. It's the whole package, isn't it? It's your psyche, your mental health, your being, and if people are suffering and taking that tablet, there is more to life. There is more to life than just feeling 50%.
Yeah, absolutely. When you were telling your story, I was nodding along with such familiarity, and I'm sure so many other people were. The drugs can cause a lot of fatigue. The disease causes fatigue. So even without the drug, you would have been suffering from lower energy levels. And then the medication as well. For some people, the side effect is lower energy. Me, with my methotrexate, I was actually smashed. I was like a zombie walking around all the time. So I totally get it. And so, look, the naysayers might say, oh, look, Louise, it was seronegative, so it wasn't seropositive, which tends to have a less overall severity. So naysayers might say that. Naysayers might say, oh, well, you're a high responder and it doesn't normally happen so quick. And the answer to this is, so what? This is your story. You had it. This could have ended up in an absolutely shocking scenario. The fact that you were developing it in your other knee, I mean, if you play this forward long enough with enough inflammation in those knees, that's a double knee replacement in a couple, let's say worst case, say 10 years time. And then you've got all the medications that you're taking, which can lead to other side effects and all sorts of lifestyle sort of challenge, depression, all this sort of stuff. So, look, let's not compare you to anyone else. Let's just look at what you were going through and where you are now, and it's extraordinary. It is extraordinary. The way the body can heal, you were all swollen in the knee, and then all that swelling has dissipated and been removed from the body, and your knee's now back to normal. I mean, God is good, right? This is freaking incredible, okay?
And I think the funny thing is, growing up on a dairy farm and growing up on dairy and meat and, but I was in this, like you were just then lit up. I was so into it and so excited, I'd be telling people my story. I'm like, isn't that fascinating? Like, but nobody, I wasn't getting the response I was looking for because People don't. Not a lot of people get it. Not a lot of people understand. I personally feel, and I was in that space too. Like, say, if I can advocate for people in the southwest of Victoria and be that person that helps another, I feel so humble in doing so. But
it's like I always compare it to cancer because people understand cancer. When you hear cancer, the human reaction is, oh, okay, if you can beat that, blah, 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 like let's get the whole community together and get balloons and give you money. All right. So, and I'm not being facetious. I'm just saying that my illustration is everyone comes together and rallies for you and there's a community support. When it's autoimmune, there's a lot of kind of like there's just no understanding. There's whispers behind closed doors. There's, what's going to happen to them? They're going to end up crippled and stuff. And nobody understands because it's just this, it's this weird, misunderstood and just this cloud of confusion. Yeah. And so there's so when you then say, hey, and now I feel great, there isn't the before feeling of tremendous understanding and concern to then relieve that with the, now what an achievement. And then you've got that happy connection between the two differential points. Instead, it's like, okay, well, I was confused before and now you say you're better. Okay, but what does that mean? Like, there's not that sudden snap of happiness.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's education, isn't it? And it's that awareness, and if I can help someone in that period of time when I couldn't find what I was looking for, whether it's rheumatoid or lupus or, any other autoimmune, there'd be thousands of people with autoimmune diseases that could greatly benefit from your program. So I hope today by coming on here that I've inspired someone. Please contact me if you want. I'd love to be contacted if that's possible and help motivate. I think that I'm really lucky because I had that motivation in me. I had that determination to smash this disease, and yeah, I did. And also, it's going to be a core foundation of my life moving forward. So why I'm doing your cleanse again is, I was sort of back on the coffee and back drinking wine in isolation here during the pandemic. Pretty good. Like I've been, predominantly plant-based, but I've just introduced, especially coffee. Coffee I have significantly understood with my body. We just don't get along. So it drains me of my energy. I know it sounds really strange, but that's why I'm back on your cleanse program at the moment, to cleanse, to restart. And I really think moving forward, my body functions a hell of a lot better on a plant-based diet. You did a great job, Mum and Dad, raising me on that dairy farm with full cream, fat milk and beef, but I really do function better on a plant-based diet.
It's funny that. It's funny that also tends to be the case for most people, but it can take a long time when switching before the body starts to develop the enzymatic activity and the gut microbiome to match the food. So I describe it as you're driving quickly down one side of the road, and then when you switch immediately to a plant-based diet, it's like having to cross over the median strip, and it's like clunky, and you're hitting trees and you're going through grass and down the gut, and then you've got to get back onto the other road, and then you've got to slowly build up momentum and acceleration on the other side, and the whole process can be a big shake-up, and it's all some kind of disruptive process. But slowly the body adjusts, the digestion starts to adjust, and then we feel good. But yeah, there can be a bit of a clunky period for a few weeks, sometimes a month or so. Yeah. So I think the only thing that we agreed to talk about before this, I don't think we've quite nailed it. And just even though we're on a bit of a high and we could wrap it up now, just for completeness so that we don't think, oh, we should have mentioned that, is the curiosity angle. You said that you wouldn't have gotten here if you hadn't have been curious, if you hadn't have seen the naturopath, if you hadn't have spoken to the wonderful person at Go Vita who saw me speak at one of their conferences that I was hosting. So you said that the curiosity is important. Can you explain that a little bit more?
Yeah, I guess it's the curiosity around what's happening to you holistically, the bigger picture, the curiosity to your lifestyle, to your past medical history, to really question where you are and why you're at this point. I don't come from that medical, that sort of medical background or that real health background. So for me to really investigate and research what this disease was, and to really weigh up the pros and the cons, of what that looks like, going down two paths, and and I think to network, to have those little conversations and be brave enough to talk about your health. I think especially being someone who likes to make someone feel uplifted, talking about your problems and your issues, especially your health, have those little curious conversations with people,
I completely agree. Have these conversations. And yes, they're tricky to talk about. If you're trying to be the upbeat, happy person and then you bring up health and you've had a challenge, there's a balance to make that conversation still remain a positive message. And I think that you do a great job of that. Your story is compelling. You have, when you were talking about the onset of the condition and having, lost Max and then the knees, so all of this is very, very somber and serious, but then you're able to say, hey, I hit the water. I'm swimming in the cold no matter what. I'm doing everything I can and I never gave up. And now you're doing cleansing again. It's like this is a lifelong thing. And whilst we hope that we never have to, lose face and show up again with our tail between our legs to the rheumatologist, weirder things could happen. I've said in the past, if one day I need to take medications because of some, stupid change I've made to my diet, you don't know. If I have some traumatic event and my gut microbiome gets blown out through some horrible event, then medications might be necessary. We never say never, but we fight the fight every day because it's crucial while we're swimming against the tide of a serious health condition to swim at least as fast as the current trying to take us the other way. So I know you're going to do it because of your attitude and the sort of natural optimism that you have and the vibrancy that you have. So I think you've conveyed a lot of that today, and that's been really, really great. There is naysayers, there are people who question, but if you can be the spokesperson and the source of light amongst your little community and get that out further by reaching more people, I think that you'll have found a part of your purpose. This is such a rewarding and incredibly valuable gift to be giving the world is helping people with their health.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to take this time to thank you. You have educated me and given me the key to optimal vitality, and that makes me a better human being.
Oh, thank you, Louise. And thank you because, whilst this is something like the 150th or something podcast, I still get goosebumps when, I hear your story and I'm getting goosebumps as I'm hearing about you, getting all your kitchen organized to do the cleanse and how it's making you feel better and so forth. And it uplifts me. This session has been uplifting to me to think, yes, set up the camera, make another video, put it on YouTube, put up with occasionally some nasty people saying silly things, because the vast majority, the 98% who say wonderful things and then have wonderful experiences is worth it. And so, thank you for giving me the energy again to do this. And if any other people are thinking about telling their story, please reach out to me. Come tell your story. This is these stories that motivate me to keep doing the stuff, to put out the content. So thank you.
That's what stories are, aren't they? We're all here for a purpose. And if that's a part of my journey that, I help people with their health, and I'm humbled to be able to do so. But thank you for giving me the key, because it makes me a better human. It gives me the energy to be able to put myself out there and do things that I once was too tired to do. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, keep it up, Louise. Thank you so much. And when you told me the triathlon bit, I'm like, wow, that is brilliant. You did well keeping that from me. I didn't know that. So that's.
I'm so disappointed. Because of the coronavirus at the moment. What are we in? I probably would. I would have been really actually having a bit more of a crack this year. I'd probably, I reckon I would have got someone, maybe like a trainer, to do me a bit of a program to be able to compete, this summer. But because of the pandemic, that's not going to happen. But that's all good.
That's right. It's, compared to others who have been affected in much more negatively ways by the virus, like that's not too bad. And you were able to achieve that goal earlier anyway. And so anything beyond that is cream, and any other exercise you can do, regularly is going to be fantastic for your ongoing health. So I'm going to wrap it up and say thank you so much, and keep up the wonderful effort.
Yeah, cool. Thanks so much, Clean, and good luck to everyone out there.